Good morning.
Good morning.
My name's Darcy Anderson, and I'm a member of the Board of Trustees. I welcome you here. The Unitarian Universalists encourage an open-ended search for the meaning of life and a commitment to asking our values to shape our actions. We're a pluralistic religion that draws wisdom from many sources. We welcome all people into our community of whatever age, race, class, ethnicity, ability, sexual orientation, gender identity, or religious background. We especially welcome those of you who may be worshiping with us for the first time. We invite you to join us for coffee downstairs so that we have an opportunity to get to know you better. Guests are welcome to participate in any of the activities in our community. If you'd like more information about the congregation, or if you have questions, please don't hesitate to ask any of the board members, the Reverend Patrick Price, or members of the Welcome Committee. Thank you very much.
Good morning. I'm a part of the canvassing team for the pledge drive, and I was asked to speak to you a few minutes this morning about why it's important to give back. So I come from a theater background, so I gotta relate everything back to that. A few years ago, I worked for a theater that converted from a normal ticket price model to a pay what it's worth model. Everyone was nervous. If no one has to pay a ticket price, if they would just pay what it's worth on the way out, or pay what you can on the way out, they thought that we would have to close pretty quickly. But what happened was pretty magical. Those who could pay more did, and those who could pay very little did, and it all kind of evened out to about what we normally made per show, so we could keep going and be more accessible to the community. We'd always rather have somebody in the chair than nobody in the chair, right? Even if they could pay a little less. So when I like to think about giving back, I like to think about, one, what's within your range, but also what value to receive. Do you consider it a value that you're in service every week? Maybe your connection circle's a value you receive, coffee hour downstairs, board game night. And really consider your values when you're trying to decide what to give your time and money to. And I wanted to end with this quote I found from Carol Hildebrand. Committed decisions show up in two places, your calendar and your bank account. No matter what you say you value or even think your priorities are, you only have to look at last year's calendar and your bank account to see the decisions that you have made about what truly matters. Thank you.
before we go any farther, your giving tree on traction. It should stand on its own, but it needs to be suspended. And to date, 25,000, 25,000, 10,000, and an additional 10,000 flames. May we continue to give, to expand the leads, and grow the leads.
Yes. Thank you for that. Can everyone hear me? Is the volume good? All right. My name is Brian Tuftee. I'm from the Welcome Team. I'm also from the Leadership Development Committee, at least for the next few months until my term is up. Gates, thank you for that. Thank you for entertaining me with a cheeky song, "Welcome Back," the theme from Welcome Back, Kotter. I thought, what a nice opening for a welcome team themed-based service. So, in the spirit of welcoming, I want to explore the meaning of that word in all its different terms, its understandings, its warmth, love, and openness. To that end, I offer a brief reading from Marilyn Falkowski. We welcome you. We know that you come here for different reasons: to find community, to seek your spiritual and personal truths, to question, to nurture your heart and soul, to be nurtured, to explore new ideas, to find comfort, and perhaps to find the answers to some of your bigger questions. We welcome you. We know that you come from different places, different religions, different beliefs, and different backgrounds. We hope you will find comfort, connection, challenge, and love here. We hope you will find ways to provide outreach to others in our congregation, in our local community, and in our world community. At this time, we will now light the flaming chalice, and let us remember that we are here not just for ourselves, but for each other. Let us welcome one another with open arms and extend that same welcome to all who seek connection. May this flame remind us that every person is a beloved member of the human family, worthy of respect and dignity, and may we carry the spirit of welcoming with us out into the world, spreading it far and wide until every heart is filled with the warmth of love and acceptance. The words of the chalice lighting are not yet on the screen, but they are in your order of service, but it's the standard words. So we now say them in unison. In the light of truth and the warmth of love, we gather to seek, to sustain, and to inspire. And now, if you'd rise in body and or spirit as you are willing and able, we're going to sing our opening hymn, number 346, Come Sing a Song with Me. And now please remain standing. This is the time. Let us turn and greet our friends. Welcome those in our midst. Offer a handshake, a fist bump, whatever you'd like.
Hi there.
It'll take a few gongs.
Yeah, I was going to say, it takes 8 minutes.
That was the one gong.
That was the one, yeah.
Now we'll hit a little harder. That was the two gong.
It's a 2 gong out of it.
It might be.
I personally think that it's fine on
a day we're supposed to be welcoming that we all just kind of talk a little bit extra. But Brian over here decided we got to keep it going. So when you get down there before 11 o'clock, thank Brian for all that. As a pluralistic religion, we're supposed to draw wisdom from many multiple sources. And one of these sources happened to be the Christian Bible, which I know we have our own thoughts and feelings about, but I found this story and thought that this would be a very good story about welcoming and community that I wanted to share with you all today. It's called Sophie's Guest. I don't know if you've heard it. It seems very familiar to me. It's by Becky Brooks. Once upon a time, there was a teacher named Sophie. Sophia had been a teacher in the town where she lived for so long that the kids she first had in her class had grown up to kids of their own and sent their kids to her. Nearly everyone in the town knew Sophia and loved her because not only was she an excellent teacher, but she was also very kind. One day, Sophia got to work and she found a note on her desk. And the note read, "Dear Sophia, I'll be around tomorrow. I wonder if I might stop by your house for some tea tomorrow afternoon. Your friend, God." Now, naturally, at first, Sophia thought it was a joke, but the more she thought about it, the more she realized that if it was a joke, it wasn't very funny. And she couldn't really think of anyone who would play a joke like that on her. And then she thought, but what if this isn't a joke? What if God really was going to come to my house tomorrow afternoon? Sophia thought that she might get ready just in case. So when she got home, she cleaned the house from top to bottom. She brought up fresh flowers from the garden and put them in vases in the living room. She cleaned and cleaned and cleaned until everything was sparkly. And then the next morning came. Sophia realized that she didn't know what God would like to eat. So she baked bread and made a casserole and a fruit salad and baked some cookies. And then, what about tea? Did God like iced or hot tea? She thought she better make both. And what if God's favorite thing in the whole wide world was lemonade? Well, you know what? She better make some of that too. She was so nervous, she didn't know what to expect. And just then, there came a knock at the door. And Sophia's heart went pitter-patter, and she took a deep breath, and she opened the door slowly, and there on the other side was the mayor of the town. "Hello, Sophia. I was walking by, and I smelled the delicious baked bread." Sophia said, "Well, I'm glad you're here. Why don't you come in? I am expecting a very important person who you might want to meet, but please come in and make yourself at home." Sophia and the mayor sat having a very nice discussion when there was a knock at the door. Sophia's heart went pitter-patter. She took a deep breath, she opened the door slowly, and on the other side of it was a group of children from her class. "Well, hello, Miss Sophia. We were walking by and we noticed the smell of baking cookies." Sophia said, "Well, I am so glad that you're here. Please come in. Please come in. I am expecting somebody very important, but you might want to meet them. So please come on in and help yourself to some cookies." The children were giving the mayor some much needed advice when there was a knock on the door. Sophia's heart went pat, pat, pat. Deep breath, opened the door, and it was her entire Women's Covenant group from church. "Well, hello, Sophia. We heard the tea kettle and the laughter and thought you might be having a party." Sophia said, "I am so glad to see you. Please come in. Please come in. I am expecting a very important person, but you might want to meet them. So please come on in and make yourself at home." Now, the afternoon, people stopped by Sophia's house. They were lured in by the yummy smells and the happy sounds, and the townspeople filled her home upstairs and downstairs and overflowed into the backyard and into the front yard. And as they got hungry, they made dinner together and ate as the sun set and the moon rose. It was a great party, and people were playing games and telling stories and baking and playing music and talking together. And Sophia had such a nice time that she completely forgot about her very important guest. Even as she waved goodbye to her friends at the end of the night, she felt completely content at having such a lovely party. And in the morning, when Sophia woke up, she remembered everything. She was confused. By golly, what had happened to God? All during her walk, she had tried to figure out what had happened. And along the way, she smiled and waved at the people that she ran into who had been at her party. And she thought to herself that she really should do that again sometime. And then, when Sophia arrived at work, she was surprised to find another note at her desk. And it read, "Dear Sophia, I had such a wonderful time yesterday. The bread was delicious. The cookies were divine. Tea mixed with lemonade is my very favorite. Thank you so much for being a wonderful host, and I hope that we can do it again soon. Love, God." Now, even without all the God stuff, no matter what it is that you think, I think that's a very good story that says that we should really think about welcoming others with our heart, no matter who it is that's coming and knocking at the door. It doesn't matter who comes in, but we should always be welcoming with an open mind and an open heart. And if the kids would like to join me downstairs, we'll talk about other stuff.
Thank you all. Thank you all for being here. I have to confess, the greeting, when we get up and mingle around and talk and shake hands, all that loud cacophony of joyous voices, that was probably one of the things I missed the most during COVID. I mean, yes, I missed being around, but being around other people. But in terms of the energy in this building, that and then the chaos that's downstairs in coffee hour, those are the main things that I miss. So I'm glad that we have that back, and I'm glad that we can all be here together today. Several months ago, I thought it might be interesting in my role on the welcome team to try and craft a service around this idea of welcoming. There's a lot of different ways a person can look at that word, that topic, right? In my career as an attorney, I am often charged with interpreting words, picking apart words, the meanings of sentences. So this is something that kind of comes naturally to explore what you can make out of a word. Obviously, we have one sense, kind of a common sense idea of hospitality, kind of like what Ken's segment for the Message for All Ages was. If you welcome people, you show them hospitality. There's another kind of welcoming we'll also explore today, which is a welcoming in the sense of having an open mind, an open spirit, an open heart, welcoming new ideas, new thoughts, new ways of being. Well, we want to explore all of these different ways of welcoming. And perhaps I'm going to try and see how many times I can possibly work the word welcome into this. I don't have a clicker, but I'm probably going to be over 60 or 70. Anyways, the last time I did something like this, standing up here, it's been more than a few years ago. That was before the COVID times. John DeGreve welcomed me to come and be part of his service. We covered the topic of daytime public television. He took Mr. Rogers, I took Sesame Street. One of the things I recall from that service was something I said, that a good sermon will hopefully do a little bit of entertaining, a little bit of education, but ideally a lot of inspiring. I think that's why a lot of us come to this wonderful place each Sunday, either here in the sanctuary in person or on YouTube. Thank you those out there on YouTube watching us. We come here to get a kick of inspiration, just a little bit, to carry us through the week, whatever challenges we may face. For me, this is kind of a reset when I come here, this place. But on this topic of welcoming, as we explore it, the first thing, like I said, we're going to talk about hospitality, then an open-mindedness, and hopefully will inspire some kind of positive energy in your life for the remaining of this week, whether it's the first kind or the second kind. What does it mean to be welcoming in the sense of hospitality? Well, we probably all have some idea of that as an action verb, right? Standing at the door out at the front of the building, saying hello with a smile, all of the greeting and handshaking and fist bumping and pats on the back that we do when we do the greeting in here. Whether it's for a first-time visitor or someone you've seen 100 times, this idea of welcoming as a verb is something that it kind of resonates with everyone, right? We have the little details for our welcoming, the way we offer hospitality. We've got name tags out there, little sticky name tags, so people know your name if you're a visitor. So we ensure that if you're a first-time visitor in our space, someone hopefully greets you at the door and kind of walks you through. But today is not a sales pitch for people to join the welcome team or to jump in and get assigned on a on a hospitality Sunday on a hospitality team. But if you're not on a hospitality team, let me know and we'll get you signed up for one. Why do we do it? Why do we do these acts of kindness? And I'm not just talking about from the organizational perspective, right? Of course it's good for the UUCQC. It's not just good, it's actually vital. It's vital for us to grow and sustain the congregation and the various ministries we have here, to grow our membership. But I'm talking about it at a more personal level. Why do we do all of those things? Why do we greet? Why do we shake hands? Why do we help someone out, engage and converse and smile? Because it feels good, of course. Perhaps that's not such a revelation after all, but it's something I personally look inward upon and reflect upon. Having that welcoming spirit is an action for me. Love in practice. Love for the entire congregation and for each individual part of it. I recall there's a saying or an expression that people, as time goes on, you have an interaction with someone. As time goes on, as the years go on, you're probably going to forget what they said, their precise words. You might forget what they did exactly, what they looked like, but you're not going to forget how they made you feel, right? That's the last thing that goes in your memory. Even if no matter how old you are, you probably can think back to your grade school days, maybe even all back to kindergarten. You probably don't remember what your teachers looked like. You can't form an image in your mind of what they looked like. But you can probably call back some feelings of what it was like to be in that space. And I think that's where hospitality ties in with that. And that's something that I personally hope that when I interact with someone, that they're probably not going to remember the words I said today, the things we did. Maybe they'll remember the birthday Sunday celebration downstairs. But hopefully they'll carry away a feeling, just a feeling, a few words, something you can express in a brief sentence of how this day made them feel or how it feels to be here in this congregation. I think that's why we do hospitality. That's why we do these welcoming things. Jean Wise, a Lutheran deacon, writes on this topic of cultivating a welcoming spirit. She says, quote, "Hospitality is a mindset of generosity and creates an environment where a person feels accepted, wanted, and loved. It is unselfishly serving others in a warm and friendly manner. It is not just cooking, cleaning, and hosting a party," end quote. Now, I think some people are more naturally wired to that mindset of hosting, something like a holiday party, hosting a holiday celebration at your house, even inviting a friend or two spontaneously over for some coffee or some conversation. For me personally, I think that's why you'll find me downstairs in the kitchen a lot or circulating out amongst the tables during coffee hour. That's because I get a kick of energy out of doing that. I know that not everyone does that. Everyone is going to find a different path to what hospitality means for them. It's probably going to depend on whether you're more on the introverted or extroverted end of the spectrum. But I think it's just instinctual for me and a lot of people to, gather up trash, you grab a napkin, you see someone needs a napkin, you want to grab for them, that sort of thing. That kind of hospitality is found at the root of many, perhaps most religious faiths and practices. I suppose that's not surprising when you think about it. You're probably not going to come back for next Sunday's service if you didn't feel very welcomed. As I researched this topic across all of our many sources of wisdom that we look at in our UU faith, I found many examples. None of these should be terribly surprising. Matthew chapter 25, Jesus speaks of those who will feed the hungry, give water to the thirsty, welcome the stranger, and they will be blessed. The Torah states that the stranger who resides with you shall be to you as one of your citizens. You shall love him as yourself. The Quran says to give food to the needy, the orphan, the captive, and to not wish for reward or gratitude. There's a common theme throughout this idea of spiritual welcoming and hospitality that I have found. A concept of selfless giving without expectation of reward. Certainly it's nice to get that reward. Helps give you a little energy, a little pep going forward. But you do these things not with the expectation for the reward, but because you know it's a good thing to do and it makes you feel good inside when you do them. There's this core idea of empathy, understanding, sharing feelings of other. This is a humanist theme. This is not even, there's nothing religious about this. This is just how you interact with your fellow humans. Showing love is a core tenet of humanism. Love and compassion for both humanity and nature. And this act of being hospitable is an opportunity to practice kindness, compassion, and generosity towards others. Along our, again, pluralist tradition, Buddhists are encouraged to welcome guests with an open heart and to treat them with respect, kindness, and generosity, not just limited to friends and family, but all sentient beings. In fact, there is a Buddhist tradition called Dana, I hope I pronounced that right, which means giving or generosity. In this practice, people are encouraged to give freely to others without expecting anything in return. This includes food, shelter, and other forms of assistance to those in need. It is seen as a way to cultivate compassion and loving kindness towards others, as well as to overcome attachment and selfishness. And of course, that was my segue, as Jay used to do much better, to lead us into our time for offering. Let us move now towards a time, let us move spiritually towards a time of offering now. In this congregation, we have the privilege and the responsibility for supporting our ministries, our programs, this lovely building, these lovely grounds, entirely through free will contributions from our members, our friends, and our visitors. In a moment, the offering baskets will be passed around by the ushers. During this time, after the baskets are passed, you are welcome to come forward to light a candle, to mark a joy or a sorrow or remembrance in your life. Let this sacred time begin. Each week we come together, we share our joys, sorrows, concerns, our thoughts and feelings with our fellow members, visitors, friends here. Sometimes we do this by speaking openly, sometimes we keep these in the silent sanctuaries of our heart, and sometimes we write in the book of joys and sorrows, which is kept just outside the entrance to the sanctuary. Anyone is free to write in the book whatever joys, sorrows, whatever is on your heart, and again in the chat online as well. Today, we have one sorrow from Doug McCollum. He says, please keep my mother, Joan, in your thoughts as she was recently hospitalized with pneumonia. We'll do that. And I'm checking online. I do not see anything on the online chat, but those out there watching us, thank you for being a part of this. And now let us become aware of the energy that brings us together here in beloved community. As we share a time of silent meditation, may we open our minds and our hearts to a place of quiet, to a silent prayer for the healing of pain and the comfort of love. For what has been shared, for what remains unsaid in the quiet sanctuary of our hearts, we are grateful. And now, to bring us out of this time of meditation, I offer a short poem from Emily Dickinson, here on the eve of spring's arrival. A light exists in spring, not present on the year, at any other period, when March is scarcely here. A color stands abroad on solitary fields, that science cannot overtake, but human nature feels. And now, let us welcome a time of special music.
I like you, you're nice. Seems like I've known you for years, but we met just a moment ago. Wouldn't you know, we're such old friends. And I like you a lot, so don't go. You're nice, you're very much me. How very nice we could be, but we wouldn't have all that we have. Let's never know and just be friends. 'Cause I like you a lot, so don't go. Take me home and stay for a while with me. If you're good, I'll make you a marvelous, wondrous, and quite notorious cup of Costa Rican coffee. 'Cause I like you, yes, I like you. You're nice.
Thank you. That was wonderful. Thank you, Gates, for the piano and Izzy for the vocals. Very nice. So now let us turn again to this topic, this word welcoming, but not in the sense of opening your home and your heart, offering hospitality, making cookies, washing dishes, but rather a concept of opening your mind, being open to new thoughts, new ways of thinking, new perspectives on life and everything around you. In other words, a welcoming of new ideas, new ways of thinking, being hospitable to those things. As Unitarian Universalists, we are perhaps more comfortable than many with the idea of trying out new things and not being closed off to new and different ideas. As the board welcome at the starting of every service, as you know, we open this space to those of all backgrounds, origins, beliefs, ways of being in the universe. I think we try to do our best to see the perspectives of others. Many of us are here precisely because we tried out something new, something different. We intentionally departed from previous beliefs and organizations that did not feel that they were a good fit for us. I know this is not the case for everyone, but probably a general rule. I know for myself, I changed my mindset in the past about what I thought religion could be, what a religious community could be. It didn't have to be locked into Scripture. It didn't have to be regressive. It could welcome science and rational thought. I changed my mind on that. A lot of those here in this room did as well. Reverend Dan Lilly of the Woodinville Unitarian Universalist Church in Washington State has approached this idea, has written on this idea of having an open mind, in the context of difficult conversations that congregations sometimes face. In his case, it was a debate at General Assembly, a debate that was coming up at the General Assembly on the topic of racism and white supremacy and how the General Assembly was going to look at different resolutions to deal with this. On this topic of having an open mind, he said, quote, "I often remind people that the only mind anyone can change is their own. These situations tend to go better when we stop trying to convince others to agree with us and instead focus on sharing deeply from our own feelings and experiences and listening deeply when others do the same. Personally, in my own spiritual development, I've begun to practice changing my mind as a spiritual practice. To be more accurate, it's really more about being open to changing my mind, and not as much about changing my mind just for the sake of it. It's about cultivating a willingness in myself to let my experiences with other people have an effect on me." End quote. He then goes on to encourage persons to try this changing your mind as a spiritual practice, to see if cultivating a willingness to open your heart and your mind can enrich your life. I like this idea that you shouldn't simply change your mind for the sake of changing it. After all, that wouldn't do much good to be constantly flip-flopping back and forth without any guidance. Like any curious person, I went looking for some practical advice on this topic. In an article from NPR by Rose Eveleth, I found a few different things that we can focus on. First, it's important to recognize our own human brains put us at a disadvantage. Our psychology research shows that almost everyone in the world has implicit biases, things that they're not even aware of, often driven by culture, upbringing, little things like that. Knowing that your reactions to certain things may be influenced at levels far below your conscious mind is important to recognize as a starter. Second, curiosity is key. It requires an active, intentional choice. When you experience something you weren't expecting or you learn something you didn't already know, will you take that next step to learn more and not be afraid? Third, staying calm and grounded is important. Nothing will close your mind faster and block you from welcoming a new idea or a new way of thinking than fear. And fourth, it's helpful to surround yourself with the right people. Now, I think this is something we probably do a good job of here, but the truth is that being around different people with different ideas, ways of living, different experiences will help to open your mind. Many of us here have sought this place out precisely because we do not have rigid structures of belief, but rather, as our fourth principle teaches, we engage in a free and responsible search for truth and meaning. And fifth, the last item from that NPR article talks about a whole other realm of suggesting mind-altering substances, something that we won't go into now. That could be a sermon for another day. But on that note, I'm now going to ask Mike Pace, also from the Welcome team, is going to come up and share a brief reflection of his own on these ideas of hospitality and openness.
Good morning. For those of you who know me, I'm long-winded. Last night, I've realized that not only am I long-winded, but I'm full of hot air. You'll understand when we go downstairs. When I volunteered to do this, about my experiences, even though I'm fairly new to this community, I think I rejoined back in November, late November, I think. But anyway, it doesn't really matter. The reason why we did this was not only because of the hospitality, which by the Webster defines it as generous and friendly treatment of visitors and guests or hospitable treatment. Dictionary.com goes further to define it as the friendly and generous reception and entertainment of guests, visitors, or strangers. When we first walked in the door, we were greeted just like everyone else. Good morning, how are you? Right? And then we went downstairs for coffee. And several people, one of them, Anne Marie, had said, "Who are you? What's your name?" And started asking, "I want to get to know you." And started asking some questions, some not very personal questions, but a get to know you, genuine questions. And so did a couple other people. Brian is one of them. And then I started to observe that the congregation is going through a healthy transition, not a bad transition, which is good. And so we decided to stick around a little bit. And as I was observing, me being outspoken that I am, started to give little ideas. And the ideas were being receptive, which then brings into the open-mindedness of this community. So the definition of open-mindedness is the willingness to search actively for evidence against one's favored beliefs, plans, or goals, and to weigh such evidence fairly when it is available. Being open-minded does not imply that one is indecisive, wishy-washy, or incapable of thinking for oneself. This strength helps individuals from meaningful and lasting relationships. On a group level, open-mindedness is crucial in counteracting groupthink. Individuals with the strength, help of the group identify the correct goals, evidence, possible alternatives, and final decisions to a given problem. So with me, I said what some of my strengths are and where I can help. And my ideas were accepted, evaluated, not necessarily implemented. That's not the point. The point is that we were being listened to. The ideas were being validated, right? Because that's what's important here. It isn't so much as if the ideas are implemented. right? I mean, everyone has an opinion, everyone has ideas, right? Some of them are good, some of them are not so good. But the fact that they're being validated and listened to is what's really important. And that's what I found here in this community, is the fact that everyone's ideas are being validated. Not once did I ever hear, well, this is how it's always been done. Okay? That has never been said. Because once that is being said, that is stagnant. It's not regressive and it's not progressive. It is just there, and there's no room for growth. And that is something that I have never heard here. And that is, you guys should applaud yourselves for that, because of the fact that we have been open-minded by being open to new ideas and perspectives. And that is why we joined this community. And for that, I thank every single one of you. You guys are amazing. And so with that, I leave you. So if we go over, it's not my fault. But thank you, everyone. You guys have been amazing. And I really do appreciate your openness to us, not just my family, but to everyone's input and ideas, especially through this transition period. So I'm looking forward to meeting all of you downstairs. And for those who don't understand what's going on, we're celebrating everyone's birthday. And so each table has a month on it. So the month that you have your birthday, you sit at that table and enjoy. It's going to be fun. Thanks.
Thank you, Mike, for sharing that. As I bring this reflection to a close, I think about the open mind and the search for truth and meaning that we thrive on here, mindful of the criticism that you use are so open and malleable that we don't believe anything because we're open to whatever we want to believe. The late UU minister Bruce Clear puts it well when he says, quote, "Our fuzziness of belief is a strength and not a weakness. I can prove it. Any honest assessment of human experience must acknowledge its ambiguous nature. There is beauty in ambiguity. The reason we Unitarian Universalists resist the rigidity of religious creed, the reason for honoring tolerance and valuing an open mind, is that so much of experience is ambiguous. Simple answers to difficult questions may be reassuring, but they rarely reflect the complexity of real experience. I am naturally suspicious of any answer, especially a religious answer, that is presented as certain, absolute, and simple. I am more open to answers if they are presented as tentative," end quote. This is something that resonates with me and probably with a lot of you as well, this fuzziness of belief and openness to new ways of thinking. Reverend Clear concludes by talking about this flexibility or openness by saying, quote, "It is both a criticism and a compliment, and it affirms a certain fuzziness, in the positive sense of that word, at the heart of who we are. We usually call it a search for truth. We sometimes even call it a religious journey. Whatever we call it, we look forward to the next book, the next encounter, the next conversation, expecting our ideas to be more clearly formed and more adequate than before. Our religious values teach us an openness to new ideas and views. That value suggests an inherent uncertainty and tentativeness, a fuzziness. If we were certain about our truths, we'd have no use for open-mindedness," end quote. May we all recognize how blessed we are that we have the freedom to approach things with an open mind, and let us use our powers of curiosity and wonder to open our mind to new possibilities. And now, please rise in body and or spirit as you are able and willing to sing our closing hymn, number 360, "Here We Have Gathered." Thank you. Please be seated. First, I'd like to offer a great thanks to all the volunteer work and other work that makes this happen. Our ushers, our greeters, Alan up in the booth, Gates, Izzy, wonderful musical performances. And thank all of you for listening today with intention. I hope we have all given you a little bit of inspiration, either to be conscious in your welcoming hospitality or to be mindful of new ways of thinking. And to close out today's service and to get on to the fun waiting downstairs, I offer the following words from Emily Richards. May you leave this time together changed. May the promises you have made to yourself about who you want to be feel closer to the reality of who you are right now. May you share that feeling of transformation wherever you go. May it spread into every word, deed, thought, and interaction until we are all changed, transformed, and transforming together, becoming our better selves. And now, let us extinguish our chalice. The words will be up on the screen momentarily, and they are also in your order of service. There they are. As we extinguish our flame, may our lives be a reflection of its light and all of the beauty, peace, and joy that's possible in the world. And may the love we find in this place sustain us as we go our separate ways and help to guide us in the new year. No double about. Thank you all now. Go in peace. May it be so.